The shadow of the mountain, roots of desperation. The mountains of Zoar offered cold solace. Lot, the man who had traded the promise of green pasture for the bustle of city life, now watched the smoke rise, where Sodom and its sister cities had once stood. They were saved, yes, but deliverance had cost them everything. The world had shrunk to a narrow cave mouth, and the silence was deafening. He had carried his family out of the fire, only to settle them into a tomb of rock. Fear's a hungry thing. It feeds not only on what has been lost, but on what might never be. The older daughter, Zillah, watched her father withdraw into a shell of grief, and she saw the future fade before her eyes. A lineage cut short, a forgotten ending to a long journey. Who would carry their story forward? In their isolation, the necessity of survival became a blinding, absolute truth. There were no men left in the land, or so they believed. The Great Terror had swept the valleys clean, leaving them stranded. In their minds, surrounded by rock and ash, they were the last vestiges of humanity, worthy of remembrance. The survival of their family name, the keeping of the sacred command to be fruitful, became an obsession that twisted their perspective until right and wrong blurred. Zillah spoke her plan to Silla, the younger sister, late one night. It was a terrible calculus born of panic. The end justifies the means. Necessity overrides morality. The logic of desperation sounded loud in the suffocating silence of the wilderness. Silla, horrified but swayed by the overwhelming belief that they were the final hope, agreed to share the awful burden. The wine was brought forth, the bitter fruit of the valley saved from the wreckage. A drink meant for celebration or sacrifice now became a tool for profound human failure. Lot, already broken by tragedy and stripped of his earthly comforts, drank until the boundaries of his awareness blurred and dissolved into oblivion. The father who had been shielded from fire was now undone by drink. That night, the older daughter acted on her terrifying resolve. Driven by the distorted duty she felt to their future, she carried out the deed that would forever mark the beginning of a nation. The morning brought only hangover and confusion to Lot, and a heavy, suffocating silence between the sisters. He knew nothing. She carried the weight of everything. The very next evening, the younger daughter, Selah, took her turn. The first sin makes the second easier, less shocking, though no less grievous. She mirrored her sister's actions, ensuring that if children were to come, they would both share the responsibility and the indelible memory of that desperate transaction. They bound themselves together in a painful legacy. Time does not stop, even in the heart of the mountains. Soon, the unmistakable signs of new life appeared in both Zillah and Selah. Their terrible, desperate choice had borne immediate fruit. They were alone in the wild, yet they were carrying the beginnings of the multitude. What a painful, complicated start to the human story, sowing life from the seed of utter despair. Zillah gave birth first, naming her son Moab, meaning, perhaps, from father. It was a painful, honest acknowledgement of his origin, a name that forever sealed his people's memory to the shadow of the mountain and the wine-induced lapse. Their entire identity was rooted in that desperate act of fear and misguided zeal. Selah's son came shortly after. She called him Ben-Ami, son of my people. From these twin acts of isolation and desperation came the progenitors of two great nations, the Moabites and the Ammonites. Their foundations were laid not in righteousness, but in the failure of human perspective, reminding us that even the darkest origins can fit into the painful, sprawling tapestry of providence.